got something different that we can touch upon as well, and it's from Dext, who've made some big moves this week. A platform that's quietly turning bookkeeping into a full workflow engine rather than just a data capture point. So first up in their changes, they've launched a new payment feature, letting accountants and bookkeepers and their clients approve and send supplier payments without ever leaving the Dext platform. Historically, Dext was the accounting data in layer, let's call it, capture, the coding, the reconciliation. And the users jumped out to banking portals or payment apps or different softwares to actually perform the task in hand. Now you can group invoices, schedule runs, and push money straight from Dext, which closes a critical loop in the accounts payable that firms have been asking for and looking at outside technologies for the last few years. So early tests processed nearly £800,000, showing real practical demand right out of the gate. And building on that broader vision, Dext has also opened the beta of its AI agent called Dext Assist. I knew that it wouldn't be too far behind. This isn't a canned chatbot. It's an intelligent bookkeeping assistant, or that's how they're positioning it, that learns your firm's patterns. So it learns your coding choices, field preferences, any client nuance that maybe you've defined, and then suggests categorizations and edits with explanations that you can accept or dismiss. Kind of like having a junior in the team run everything for you and send it for approval. It's the kind of context-sensitive automation that has eluded many general-purpose AI tools so far. So together, payments and AI agents signal a bit of a shift for Dext. It wants to be more than a document processor, and we're not really surprised by that because it was in the merger with Iris last year. So it looks like it's aiming for end-to-end bookkeeping automation and workflows that get closer to real autonomy without handing accountants out of control bots. The reaction from the profession, let's go to you, John. What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, for me, this is fundamentally just Dext staying relevant, right, in the market. All of their competitors are offering, at the very least, payments already. And so, this tie-up with, I think, Wallet, isn't it, to power the payments, was something that had to come. To be fair to Dext, there's something that experimented with a long old time ago and had launched into products and then pulled back from. So they were probably actually the early pioneers of bringing payments into kind of the AP process, but for whatever reasons, backed away. I think the Dext Assist functionality, again, in many respects, keeps them relevant with where the rest of the market is. But actually, it's almost like an extension of kind of some of the auto categorization functionality that they've already got in the product, but it's just a little bit more sophisticated. It does have some AI in there in terms of helping to kind of translate what the machine learning in the background has been doing into something that's consumable by the user at the front end. And actually, I haven't seen this because it's still in beta, so not everyone's got access to this at the moment. But actually, when you go through and sort of create guidance about how transactions or how information on those invoices and receipts should be treated, it is very, very complex. It's very in depth. There's a lot of detail you can get into, which I really like. And I guess maybe historically, one of Dext's weaknesses particularly has been around those multi-line item invoices and actually being able to handle line by line data and categorizing it to different GL codes and doing that in a sophisticated way. It's been quite a manual process in the past. It appears, although obviously this is subject to testing and being able to see it in real life, but it appears that now you could make that super automated, which again really brings them back up to speed with some of their other competitors in the market, but also just keeps the functionality moving in the right direction.
Speaking of competitors, and one thing I'm curious about is, Ariana, how do you think it compares to softwares like QuickBooks and its own agent-like capabilities that they've been pushing out, coupled with obviously the ledger? They're in the same place.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely was required. QuickBooks does already do a lot of this within the software. It suggests, based on historical information, how you've coded things, what it could be. So it's great for the team to be able to keep some consistency. Lots of people don't necessarily use QuickBooks directly for their kind of receipt capture. They're still using third-party software like Dex. So when they've got that, they kind of don't necessarily use the AI element within QuickBooks because it's at the point of the information coming in. Dex didn't have that, so they were losing a lot of efficiencies there. Now that's come into place, I think it will be a massive, it'll be a game changer for the way that those businesses are working. It was really needed, and payments, so many other apps are providing that. So I would say they were slightly behind. Obviously, they were the leader in the quality of information being extracted, but they were behind in other features. So I think now this, coming up to where they should be.
I think that's sorry,
One
India. I was just going to say, I think that's a really interesting point you make, Ariana. There were leaders on quality, but obviously the other functionality was missing. And do you think, from your perspective, what is it that you're focusing in on from your business? Are you interested in that additional functionality and maybe would take a little bit of a hit on the quality or is on the accuracy, or is accuracy kind of like the fundamental bit that you'd prefer to focus in on?
Accuracy is super important because this is where everything starts, right? If the data is going to be incorrect at this point, then all of our work is going to be a load of rubbish. So we need accuracy is super important. But I think now we expect more, right? With the softwares that are out. So
Yeah.
we expect to have the other efficiencies available. And I think for us, where it's going to help a lot in our team is for things with expenses that could be classified in two different codes, for example, and some are classified in one, some are another, and there's some inconsistencies there. So I think this, if it suggests, we've noticed that you generally code this to this code and start to align things so they are all within the same code. I think that would be super useful for the team.